What is up, everybody? Matty back with another tutorial. This is one that's been requested by several people asking how you add a car to your FiveM server. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Y'all know I use a lot of redneck cars as far as LEO is concerned. Here is, we're going to do some Zeker cars. I also have everything he's ever made. This isn't all of them right here. I've already added some of these, so let's pick one I haven't. We'll do the 2018 Dodge Charger. So when you get a model from a dev, when they send you the files after you've purchased it from them, you will have numerous options. So in this particular case, this comes in two versions, one with chrome wheels, one with black wheels. I'm sure we'll like the black wheels more. Template is where you can go in and add a custom skin to it. Right now, I'm not going to worry about that right this second. We can do that later. Another time, I will show you how to do that. Ordinarily, if it's going to our server, it's going to have either a CHP, LASD, or LAPD skin on it. But this one, we're just going to put in plain. So we're doing the, that was chrome wheels. We want to do the black wheels. Once we go in here, they are also going to give you normally multiple options. You normally get an all blue or a red and blue. Zeker also does blue and white on his. That's the actual color of the lights themselves. We use all red and blues, and here is our file setup. So what we need to do is get these onto our server. Now I use a VPS, a dedicated server that I rent from a server provider. So if you're running it on your local desktop, or if you have to use something like FileZilla or WinSCP, just get to your file structure. So I'm going to go ahead and remote directly into our server. So here we have our server. So I've got all sorts of stuff. I need to do some cleanup here. So I'm remoted directly into the server. Now what we need to do is get those files over. But first you need to go to your resources. I just have it shortcut here on the desktop. But wherever you have it, whatever you named it, I did mine FX server. You may have it just as server, FiveM, something like that. Either way, after that, you're going to go into the server data. Again, I have the CFX prefix on it. Doesn't really matter. And then we're going to go into resources. This is where all of your different resources are in the server. Some people do all of their cars merged together in a few folders. I do that on occasion. For instance, I've got a vehicles civ folder, which just has a whole ton of different vehicles in it. So I break those down and I just do that on occasion. Either way, sometimes the car calls issues. I've found it's easier to keep them separated, and also it tends to be a little less laggy for some players. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Just play with it. It varies. Some people you need them bunched up, sometimes you don't. In this particular case though, we are going to put in a new folder. I'm going to call this one Zeker Charger. Go ahead and copy that name while you're at it, because we're just going to go ahead and add it while we're here into our server config. I will show you the location of that here in a moment. Doesn't really matter exactly where you put it. In this particular case, we're going to put it down here at the bottom. Start Zeker Charger. Okay, excellent. Our server is not started yet. If it was started, you would have seen that black, what looks like a command prompt window. So we would have shut that down first. You don't have to have it shut down to add new resources necessarily, but they won't show up until after you restart it. So now that we've got our Zeker Charger here, it is completely empty. We need to do two new folders. The first one is going to be called Stream. The second is going to be called Data. So once we've got those entered, they are there. We also need a resource file. So we're going to just copy one that I've got. We will use the one I used from his other unmarked packs that I already have in the game. Yep, that's correct. Just post it right in. So what the resource is you're going to have this version up here. This is going to tell you which files it needs to point to, the server needs to point to, in order to open the car properly. So we'll get back to that in a minute. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get our data folder up. In my particular case, I can just go ahead and copy the files over from my local PC. So I'm grabbing the car calls, car variations, and vehicles. You might also have a handling file. It just kind of depends on, or not kind of, it does depend just on how the developer makes it. So in this particular case, we're going to grab those three, drop them right in the data folder. So no big deal. Now we need to get the rest of the files, the stream. Those are the actual vehicle files, the YTD and the YFTs. Just like when we did the car in the local version of GTA for LSPDFR, when we put the redneck car in, you may have four of these. Sometimes you see there's the Charger _high YFT. You might also have one that's _high YTD, but you're going to have either 3 or 4. That's just how it operates. So these are just about done copying over to the server from my local PC, and it looks like they are now in. So what we need to do is, again, go back and look at that data. We have car calls, car variations, and vehicles meta. So we need to make sure that's what shows up here. Okay, now in this particular case, we don't actually have a handling meta. So we're going to remove that. In all honesty, you don't necessarily have to remove it because it's just not going to see it's there. It's no big deal, but it doesn't hurt to. Also, this comma right here at the end, go ahead and remove it. That tells it it's the last file. So theoretically, we could have left that in there. As long as we remove that comma, it might have still started. You don't necessarily have to remove this comma. I've just noticed sometimes it'll crash my cars when I try to spawn them if I leave it in there. It's all code you're dealing with. It's kind of finicky. So you've got your handling file down here as well. It does not need to be pointing to that, so we'll also remove it. So Control S to save it, just to verify with our data file. We've got our vehicles, we've got our car variations, and we have our car calls. So it is actually ready to go now. We're going to go ahead and close that. We're going to go actually right back into that data, go into the vehicles. So right now the spawn code is CHGR. So we'll just remember that to actually spawn it in. See how the handling line here is police 3. That is a default GTA handling line. Had he actually created a handling file specific to this car, it would be pointed to the name of whatever he had the handling file called. And some of his are. It's not just him. It's not like he doesn't ever do it. He does on a lot of vehicles. It just depends. It's a Charger. It can use the Police 3 just fine. That's why there's no handling meta with it. So what we're going to do is go ahead and launch our server. I am going to show you again where you can get that server config. So if we go right back into our C drive, and then that's where I have it, and maybe on your D drive, wherever you actually put it, we're going to go into our FX server, and then into the server data folder. That's where your server config is. So it is ready to go. So again, we'll go ahead and double check. I did add it. We'll make sure I saved it, and I sure did. Zeekr Charger. So it is good to go. So at this point, we can just fire up the server, hit start. It's going to go through its thing. When it's done, we will pop in game and make sure that the charger is there. See you in a second. Okay, welcome into the server, everybody. So we are here with our character. Let's go ahead and spawn that car. So we are going to go to our related options and our spawner. Use whatever trainer is allowed in your server. We happen to use the V menu. So we're going to spawn it by model name, and that was CHGR. Hit enter. Now, since it's the first time I'm bringing it in, it's going to take a second or two to actually load up. Now, it looks like this because, again, I have no skin on it. So I'm not really concerned about that. That's a really easy fix that I will show another time. We just need to make sure the lights work. So there we go. Now, my lights are really dim right now. That's just because I had to do a reinstall of GTA. And so I've just got to get my right lighting pack. Either way, so they will actually look much better when you normally have your lighting pack. But it works. Everything is good. We'll go ahead and make sure that all of the particular options on here work. That would be the vehicle extras. So we've got them all on anyway already. So you can see we've got the ALPR stuff. So we can go through, take everything out. Don't mind the sirens. So those are all of our extras. So again, just look at the numbers and you can just go through here and do whatever. Make sure everything popped on as it's supposed to. So this vehicle properly works. That's all there is to it. So one thing to look out for, the only other thing is that sometimes the lights will get in here and not work properly. So that's what we were looking for. And so when I say they won't work properly, they either won't turn on at all, or they're there, but it's kind of big and jumbled, or they may not even be on the car, or there may just be huge streaks of blue and red sticking out across the screen, not on the car. If you circle around it, there may be, again, lights kind of not on the car, just floating out beside it. But we're good on this one. So I'm going to show you what to look for in case that does happen to you. Okay, so I'm just back on the local files on the PC. But what you would look for is this car calls file. So there is a number here. It's a value. Now, all of your developers are going to build this in, but, you know, like myself, you may have several different developers' cars you use, not to mention things I've found that I've added myself. So anyway, you would need to make sure this value is changed. It just needs to be unique to that vehicle. So you can't have two 44s. I had another one that was in here as 44 in this particular case, then this would be all screwed up, and quite likely the other one too. So if you need to come in here and change that value, you do so. However, after you've changed it there, you also have to come into car variations and change it there. If you see here, here's a siren setting. Siren settings, I know it doesn't seem intuitive, but that's actually the vehicle emergency lights. So it may be up to 6 digits long. So if you come in here and you had a number, just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that conflicts with another car, you would need to change it, for instance, to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you would change it here in the car calls, that ID value, and you would also come down to the car variations, change it here from 44 to, or in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. So that's all there is to it. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to let me know below. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.